We all want to feel close to God. We want to feel His presence, and too many times we don't, do we? And I think the main reason is due to sin. Let's talk about that in your morning cup of inspiration. Too many times we do not confess the sin in our life like we need to. Listen to what Proverbs 16:2 says. It says, people may be pure in their own eyes, but the Lord examines their motives. Too many times we don't even think about or realize the depth of the potential sin in our life. I think we tend to do what King Saul did. If you go back to 1 Samuel, the 15th chapter, listen to the 3 things that he did when he was confronted with his sin. The prophet Samuel confronted him because he went and conquered a city, but was supposed to kill all the animals and didn't do it. So Samuel comes up to him and greets him, and the king says, hey, I've carried out all the Lord's commands. Well, he lied to himself, didn't he? That's in verse 13. So in verse 15, because Samuel said, well, what do I hear? I'm hearing animals. And then he goes, it's true, we spared the best, but only to sacrifice to the Lord. We destroyed everything else. So now he's rationalizing, isn't he? We do that way too many times. And then Samuel goes on, and Saul comes back and says in verse 20, but I did obey the Lord. He's in denial now. Finally, 4 verses later, confession. Yes, I've sinned. And why did he sin? He was afraid of the people. He knew he had sinned, but he would not confess. And what happened? With that kind of heart, God removed the kingdom from him, and he really never felt God's presence in the same way again. We need to be more like King David. If you'll remember the story of King David, committed adultery and had the woman's husband murdered. He was confronted by the prophet Nathan and was told a story. 2 Samuel 12, 13th verse, David immediately responds, I've sinned against God. He didn't make excuses. He didn't lie to himself. He didn't rationalize. He confessed. If we will confess, if we will look deep in our heart as to where we fall short, confess that to the Lord, His presence will overwhelm our life. So don't lie to yourself. Don't rationalize. Don't deny. Confess to the Lord when you do something wrong. Seek Him earnestly, and His presence will overflow our life. I hope that ministered to somebody today. God bless. Thanks for joining me for that morning cup of inspiration, and we'll see you next time.